Hello everyone, Tmmgamer here, and today I have the pleasure of bringing you another one of my Football Talk videos, the series where I spend a bit of time talking about real life football. And obviously, the day after the Champions League final, it was only natural that I was going to make a video for it, but as well as that, there was a really important game in English domestic football yesterday, the Championship playoff final. I had the pleasure of watching that as well, so got a few very important topics to talk about. But firstly, let's get on with the Champions League, because it was the first time in the history of the competition that two teams from the same city were competing for the title, and it was a really compelling game. It was a bit of a slow burner. I felt the first half was, very tight and nervy, and you could obviously see the stakes, and Atletico are a side that never give much away, so you could have possibly expected that. But I felt as you got into the game more, the second half just kept building. And in the end, I really enjoyed the game. I went round a friend's house, a few of us there, we had a few drinks, and we went to a gig afterwards. And it was a really good game, and all of us got into it, actually. And I feel very sorry for Atletico Madrid, because their story is absolutely incredible. No real big names in that team. If you would have looked at that team at the start of the season, before Diego Costa went off on his mad run, you wouldn't have said, oh, these are a Champions League finalists. And they got within a few seconds of winning that trophy. Absolutely unbelievable header from Sergio Ramos to take them through. Bullet header. It takes something a bit special to beat Courtois, phenomenal goalkeeper. But Atletico, they're the ultimate team spirit team. There's no massive egos in that. There's no superstar players who carry them to glory. They work hard for each other. They really battle. They've got an unbelievable defence. Their defence is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, apart from the last 5 minutes of extra time, when they're basically thrown in the towel mentally, and then they couldn't lift themselves again for that final effort. They shut out Real Madrid. In fact, they made shutting out Real Madrid in that first half look very easy. And obviously, Real Madrid have some unbelievable attacking players that eventually won them the game. But Atletico, there's no shame in their performance, I have to say. Apart from Diego Simeone at the end going a little bit mad, but that's the passion of the guy, I suppose, and it's the big event. For the rest of it, he was applauding the fans, he was trying to G the team up. I think he's done a fantastic job there, and fingers crossed they continue to play well, because I'd like to see Atletico Madrid continue their run. It certainly made Spanish football a lot more interesting this season. The league going to the final day doesn't normally happen in Spain. It's either Madrid or Barca, depending on who's had a good year. They storm the league and break goal records and all that sort of stuff. So made it very compelling viewing. And they really did tear the Champions League up this season. It was very fun to watch. And a bit of a shame in the end, in my opinion. I wanted Atletico to win, but you can't take anything away from Real Madrid. Lesser teams would have folded, but as that second half went on, Atletico began to sit a little bit deeper, and it was just wave after wave of attack. Individually, I don't think they played brilliantly, but when you're under that pressure to just keep battling, and they got the goal, the equalising goal, like I mentioned earlier, from unbelievable header from Sergio Ramos from a corner. Ran onto it, met it with great pace, headed it right in the bottom corner. Fantastic header, unstoppable. And from there, you always felt they were going to win it. I mean, that's such a massive morale hit for Atletico. And you could see the players on the bench heading their hands when that had gone in. It felt like a defeat already for them, because, like I mentioned, they worked so hard. Unbelievable team spirit. They'd left absolutely nothing in their bodies. They just went straight out and gave it absolutely everything. And that must have crushed the will. But to be fair to them, came back out for extra time and didn't get steamrolled. I think the score at the end, a little bit unfortunate for them, a very harsh score, but that's what happens when you've got unbelievable players who can score goals. Marcelo, very good goal, and then the penalty late on from Ronaldo just to round it up after the great Bale header. I have to say, Gareth Bale, he didn't play particularly well, but that's why you spend all of that money on players. So in the big moments, they are there for you, and scored a very good head. I mean, the ball ricocheted off Courtois. Is very awkward, and he did really well to cushion a header into the top corner. Very easy to spoon that over the bar in that situation. And Gareth Bale's basically won them 2 trophies this season. In his first season at Madrid, he's won them the Copa del Rey with an unbelievable goal when he just storms down the flank. Bartra tried to take him out and put him into the stands, and he just brushed him off, beat him, and a very good finish. And then who kept trying, kept working hard, kept getting himself into positions in the Champions League, even though he wasn't playing particularly well and missed a couple of good chances earlier in the game, kept on doing what he needed to do and got the goal and basically won Madrid the title. And you know, they are a phenomenal side. They're arguably, they are the best team in Europe. They've proved that. But you know, when you put teams on paper at the start of the season, you'd say to everybody, "Oh, who are the best teams in the world?" You'd probably say immediately Bayern and Real Madrid, and their squad is just absolutely fantastic. The thing that's really impressed me this season is their defence, because you know, Real Madrid have always had unbelievable attacking players. They've always had a Ronaldo, you know, fat Ronaldo, and now Cristiano, or they've had a Zidane. But what has really impressed me is Ramos and Pepe this season. You know, I was sitting around talking with some of my mates, and they were saying exactly the same thing. You know, Ramos, great player, but has always had a bit of a hothead, and the same with Pepe. They've always got a red card in them. But this season, they've really sorted that out, and their defence has been incredible. And you saw a little bit of Ramos's, you know, personality when he got his yellow card. He ran over 30 yards just to argue with the referee and get involved, and got himself a stupid booking. But then for the rest of the night, defended very, very well. And you know, his performance in the second leg of the semi-final in Bayern was one of the best performances I've ever seen from him, and he's improved no end. He's always been a very good defender, but he's finally got the rest of his game sorted now. You know, his personality's calmed down, got his temperament right, and he's turned into an absolutely phenomenal defensive partnership. You know, Rafa Varane as well, not a bad three centre-backs, is it, those three? So Madrid overall, very, very impressive. You know, they battled through very tough draws. Don't forget, they beat Dortmund, they beat Bayern Munich. You know, they did not have an easy route to the final. Not that there is an easy route to a Champions League final, but they beat many, many very high quality teams to get there. Absolutely thumped Bayern Munich in the grand scheme of things as well, tore them apart, and they thoroughly deserve it. They've worked very, very hard, and they've got, like I mentioned, a lot of world-class players, and I actually really enjoyed the game yesterday. So that's the Champions League. Next game to talk about is the Championship playoff final. It is actually the most valuable game in club football, which is a stat that always astonishes me, but it just goes to show how much wealth is in the Premier League. Unbelievable amount of wealth in the Premier League, and it was competed by Derby and QPR. And QPR, again, late goals were a theme yesterday, nicked it in the 90th minute. You know, Bobby Zamora, after some absolutely shocking defending, I have to say, Derby's defending in that last 20 seconds for the goal was just awful. A nothing throw-in. Two Derby players basically stood there, watched it. They could have thrown their hat on it and it would have stopped and they would have been able to clear it. But Junior Hoylett simply wanted it more than them, it seemed. Battled through it. You know, brushed two Derby players off like they weren't there. Put the cross in. Cross wasn't great. You know, bobbled off, dropped straight to the Derby centre-back, should have cleared it, scuffed it straight to Zamora, and he just stroked it into the corner. Very, very good finish. And I felt so sorry for Derby, because I wanted Derby again to go up. Both of the teams I wanted to win lost yesterday, which is unfortunate, but I really dislike QPR. And it's not because of the fans or the club. You know, I've got nothing against QPR fans or the club in general. It's just there's something inherently wrong with football. If a team in the Championship can get away with having a higher wage budget than Borussia Dortmund, I find that astonishing. And they got I think it was a £50 million fine off UEFA because of their complete disregard for financial fair play. But it, you know, felt like a bit of a dark result for football, that, because you've got a team in Derby who have played really good football this season. They've given chances to a lot of fringe players from other clubs, loan players, got a lot of young players as well. Will Hughes has got a fantastic amount of talent, and I probably think he's a future in England's international. You know, really, really talented player. You know, they were a team that I really wanted to win. And against them, you've got QPR, who've basically bought a lot of average players and paid silly money for them. Really, really silly wages. And they've got a manager in Harry Redknapp who I really don't rate. I think Harry Redknapp is a very average manager. If you look at Harry Redknapp's record, what has he actually done? You know, he's won the FA Cup at Portsmouth, and in the process, he bankrupted the club. That's what he did. And there was all that investigation into him, and he came out innocent, so you've got to assume that the justice system did its job. But some of the things he was saying in that don't lend you to believe he's not, you know, at least a little bit dodgy. When he said he never wrote anything down, it's just like, come on. this is financial dealings. You might not have, you know, done anything dodgy, but saying you haven't written anything down, that can't be right. You don't write down any of your financial details. You don't track your taxes. You don't see what your income and expenditure is. And I know you're on a fair few bob, Harry, so I doubt you're going to be struggling to pay council tax. But at least you should check it, surely. It's just... Yeah, I really don't rate him. Like, he bankrupted Portsmouth. He took an underachieving Spurs squad, because, you know, he took over Spurs. Their team was very good. I mean, they were bottom of the league, but they were bottom of the league because of just a disastrous start, not because their team was poor. And then he spent a fair bit of money wherever he's gone. You know, managed Portsmouth, managed Southampton, left them, joined them. He seems very, very flaky. And one thing that I really don't want to see happen is, let's say England do really badly at this World Cup and they go out in the group stages and Roy Hodgson gets sacked. And I hope that doesn't happen, obviously, for a starter. But I can see a lot of people clamouring for Redknapp to be England manager, and obviously the last time the job was vacant there was a massive swell of public support for Redknapp, and I was really glad that he actually didn't get the England job. And like I mentioned, you know, he's done very, very little. He's taken a club in the Championship with a higher wage budget than Borussia Dortmund, who got to the final of the Champions League last season, and he's got them up through the playoffs. So he didn't even win the league with that astronomical wage budget. Something's got to be wrong there. You cannot be England manager if it takes you hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds to get promoted from the Championship. You know, the only other major thing he's won, he bankrupted the team to do it and left them in an absolutely unbelievably shocking state of affairs, which, to be honest, Portsmouth haven't recovered from. You know, Portsmouth are still dirt poor because of what Harry Redknapp did to them. I mean, obviously, Milan Mandaric as well. You know, the finances of that football club were never right, and he completely screwed them over. And I mean, the proof is still there that Portsmouth are struggling to exist week in, week out. So that was a little bit of a downer. But at the end of the day, the team that wins, the team that scores the goal, deserves to go up. So you got to say well done to QPR, because on the day, they were the ones who went out there and won the game. And the thing with QPR, they've got an owner who is not afraid to spend a few bobs. So you can see QPR clearing out a lot of the deadwood and making some pretty big moves in the transfer market. I mean, getting promoted, they'll keep a lot of their better players, and they've got some very, very good players. And players like Joey Barton, for example. Joey Barton gets a lot of stick in the media for his comments, and you either love him or you hate him. He's a bit of a Marmite player, you know, as a person. But there's no doubt he's a solid midfielder. They've got a lot of decent players through that team. And if you've got, like I mentioned, an owner who's prepared to splash a bit of cash, QPR could become a big threat in the league. Obviously not to win the thing, but hey, you know, taking a few scalps here and there, that's something they could quite easily do. And there's been a bit of a history recently of promoted teams actually doing quite well. Look at look at Crystal Palace this year and Hull. A very, very solid season. She's done a lot of work, and obviously Cardiff were the exception that proves the rule, going down with a bit of a whimper in the end. But you know, QPR have definitely got a chance. Of all the teams that have been promoted in the last few years, QPR you'd think have the better chance of making a major impact just because of the finances. So two big games, two quite enjoyable games. You know, the QPR derby game was very, very tight and cagey, but with all of these games, they're compelling to watch because of the high stakes, and you can never take your eyes off the screen because of that. It's very, very interesting viewing. So once again, thank you for listening to the video. I really hope you've enjoyed it. As always, I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say about both the games, if you check both of them out, or perhaps you were doing a bit of gardening on Saturday afternoon, so missed the playoff final. I'd like to hear about that as well. But once again, thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.